Good? We're good? Okay. Yeah. Hello, everybody who's on Facebook right now. This is Phil Anaya, and I'm joined by meteorologist Ryan Shoptaugh. We just wanted to jump onto Facebook because, unfortunately, we did not have our normally scheduled 6 p.m. newscast because of the Masters. So we wanted to give you an update, though, on the wildfire that's currently burning on Camp Bullis. It started around 2:30 this afternoon, and if you've been outside on the north side, you've definitely probably have seen the smoke from a distance. For those who are unfamiliar, Camp Bullis, of course, is east of I-10, north of 1604, west of Blanco Road. So around 2:30, that's when people started seeing a lot of smoke coming from Camp Bullis. What we know so far, and this is coming from officials at Joint Base San Antonio, the fire department at JBSA Camp Bullis, as well as the other Joint Base San Antonio fire departments, including Fort Sam Houston, Lackland, they have all headed to this fire and are tackling the flames. They are also getting help from the Leon Springs Fire Department, and we know that Joint Base San Antonio has also requested the help of Chavano Park and Bulverde Fire Department. What we don't know at this time yet is what caused this fire, what started the fire, and we don't know how big the fire is. I mean, we can see it from video from Chopper 5, and just to be clear, the video that you're looking at right now, this is from Chopper 5 earlier, so this is not a live look at the fire as it burns right now, but this is from Chopper 5 just within the last couple of hours. It seems to have grown a little bit, but has kind of scaled back, and to be clear, there have not been any evacuation orders at this time. It appears that the fire is closer to the Blanco side versus the I-10 side. At least that's what it looks like from Chopper 5. You can see some homes in that video off to the distance. That appears to be Blanco Road that separates those homes in Camp Bullis. But again, no evacuation orders have been put into place just yet. Just to give you some background on JBSA Camp Bullis, it's 27,000 acres. It's a big area. It's got lots of ranges. It's a training area for members of Joint Base San Antonio, and there's definitely plenty of wildland out there. It's described as a, quote, crucial training location for service members from JBSA. Again, we don't know what started this. We have been getting people calling Camp 5 saying that they heard some sort of explosion or whatnot. We can't confirm that right now. It's not unusual to hear noises, explosions from Camp Bullis, but we can't confirm that there was something going on that led up to this fire. Of course, the conditions are so dry right now. The wind is not helping. With that said, Ryan, why don't you jump in and talk about the conditions?
Yeah, the problem is that we have not seen good measurable rainfall in the last several months, Phil. I mean, you can take a look at some of the video from earlier from Chopper 5 of some of the fire from Camp Bullis. And on the screen to our bottom is a satellite feed from earlier this afternoon. And again, as Phil mentioned, around 2:30 is when it started to spark up west of Timberwood Park, west of 281 in northern Bexar County. Now, what's incredible, on geostationary satellite from miles up in space, you can see that. And matter of fact, at 2:33 o'clock this afternoon, that smoke plume just popped up, and you can see that just burning from earlier today east of I-10 and west of 281. Now, the air is so dry, and matter of fact, let's back it up and show you how dry the air is. It's clear outside. I mean, there's no rain, but look at the dew points. I mean, the relative humidity values are so low. They're under 20% and even lower in some locations east and west of San Antonio. Now, the dew point in San Antonio is 35, but notice how dry the air is out west near the Rio Grande, and that's where they need the rain desperately. But this fire, of course, was the most widespread across northern Bexar County and over Camp Bullis. Now, let's take a look at some of that fire from earlier today from Chopper 5. Now, I just want to reiterate, the fire was really apparent on satellite west of Timberwood Park. You can see that with our weather graphics to our bottom. And then in addition, you going to say, Phil?
Yeah, I was just going to say, you can see, this is again a video from Chopper 5 from earlier, but you can see some of the flames, and the flames were kind of widespread throughout different parts of Camp Bullis, but go ahead.
No, it's good. And again, it's been about 55 days. I ran some numbers, and it's not until, or at least since early February, we saw some good measurable rain. And with this in place, and the drought near extreme and exceptional around San Antonio, this is going to cause, just huge problems. Wildfires are going to spread rapidly. And here's just another look at satellite. In addition to the one in northern Bexar County and over at Camp Bullis, there was another one that popped up just northeast of Rock Springs. And that's on the back burner right now. So we're keeping a close eye on the one at Camp Bullis. But notice the southerly winds, and that's the key in today's and tonight's forecast if you're heading out this evening. This is a forecast model, but the fire that's burning at Camp Bullis, those southerly winds are transporting all the smoke, the bad air quality, the lowered air quality farther north. It's a narrow swath between Bernie and Bulverde that the smoke is going to carry it farther north. And that's important because if this fire is not contained in the next several hours, we'll have to keep a close eye on this. But fire crews are out there. They're doing their best to contain things. In the meantime, the Weather Service has kept the red flag warning in effect until 8 p.m. tonight. That is every county across South Texas, including Bexar County, Medina County, all the way east, pretty much towards Houston. And it's because of this environment. The winds are moving at 20 miles an hour, some gusts near 30. And what that's going to do, it's going to help spread embers all across the area. So keep in mind, those winds are from the south. And with that in place, that's going to move the wildfires farther north, closer to Johnson City, Fredericksburg, anywhere north of San Antonio and north of Bexar County. But again, just to reiterate things, there is a red flag warning in effect until 8 p.m. tonight. Wildfires will spread rapidly, and they are doing so near Camp Bullis, and they will travel farther north in the next several hours. So again, the Weather Service has reissued this. And most likely going to issue this for tomorrow because winds are not going to subside. Matter of fact, they're going to stay breezy tonight, up to 20 to 25 miles an hour. In addition to tomorrow, winds are not going to back off. They're going to be at that same range through tomorrow afternoon, 20, 30 miles an hour. And again, here's some video from earlier this afternoon from Camp Bullis. Phil, any update on any of the fire crews?
Actually, I'm glad you just asked. I'm writing this information down as we speak. This just coming in from the incident information page from the Texas A&M Forest Service. They are telling us that right now the fire is an estimated 1,500 acres at 0% containment. So that's not good news. Obviously, they're working hard. It's a tough area to get to. Obviously, they have access to it. But as you can see from this video from earlier today, there are some training structures on Camp Bullis that have already gone up in flames. But again, just new information right now from the Texas A&M Forest Service that so far it looks like an estimated 1,500 acres have burned with 0% containment. Again, this started around 2:30 this afternoon. This is happening on Camp Bullis. Joint Base San Antonio says that they have all their fire crews headed that, well, they're already there, but they have requested assistance on top of that from Chavano Park and the Bulverde Fire Department. Leon Springs Fire Department is already there helping tackle this fire. But Camp Bullis is 27,000 acres of ranges, training areas, and just wildland. So it could be difficult for them to get to these spots. And just from what we can see from Chopper 5, it looks like there's different roads for them to access, but it could take a while for them to get there. Ryan, I remember there was a fire on Camp Bullis 10 years ago. So if I don't know if some of the people watching right now on Facebook will remember that, but I remember that summer because it was also like this.
Yeah.
It was just really dry, and we were lacking rain.
Yeah, since February 2nd is when we saw the best rainfall, and we saw about 1.5 inches here in San Antonio. And ever since then, it's been dry, and that's been worsening things across the region. Matter of fact, again, we've talked about this, the red flag warning that continues in effect until 8 p.m. tonight. So with this kind of setup, drought at the surface, winds moving at 20 to 30 miles an hour, humidity so dry, it's almost desert-like in San Antonio right now. Of course, the temperature feels fantastic, 70s and 80s, but with this lack of humidity in place, it's going to set up a just dangerous environment for anything that spreads across the region. Matter of fact, let's back things up and show you the satellite feed from earlier this afternoon. If you're just tuning in, this was at 2:30 this afternoon, Camp Bullis fire west of Timberwood Park, west of 281, and in northern Bexar County. And that's where the fire sparked off earlier today. But as we mentioned, I mean, this type of setup at the surface, the drought, the dry air, another brush fire popped up northeast of Rock Springs. But again, the Weather Service has issued the red flag warning until 8 o'clock tonight with southerly winds. That's going to transport all the smoke from this fire in Camp Bullis in northern Bexar County farther north. So if you're watching from Helotes, from downtown San Antonio, from Live Oak, or St. Hedwig, Seguin, the smoke will be moving away from your direction. It's going to move towards Johnson City and anywhere north of San Antonio because of those southerly winds transporting the smoke from south to north. So that is any good news. If any relief, I mean, it's going to keep the air quality good in San Antonio, but if you're watching from maybe Bernie or Johnson City, that's where it's going to really lower.
Let me jump in real quick, Ryan. We do have a crew on scene. KENS 5 reporter Alyssa Baez is there, and she's passing this information to us as we speak. She says the chief of the Bexar Bulverde Volunteer Fire Department says evacuations will be called in for the Oak Ridge and George Oaks neighborhoods. So let me repeat that. The chief of the Bexar Bulverde Volunteer Fire Department says evacuation orders will be called for the Oak Ridge and George Oaks neighborhoods. So we have not seen any evacuation orders yet, but it looks like that's changing as we speak. Again, we now know from the Texas A&M Forest Service that this fire is about 1,500 acres burned. 0% containment. And as Ryan was saying, this is moving from south to north. The winds, rather, are moving from south to north. So, we were concerned that it might be blowing. If it were to blow east, it could jump Blanco. That doesn't appear to be the case, but obviously people north of this fire are going to get the effects of that smoke.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, take a look at our sky cam outside our KENS 5 studios. You can see off in the distance in northern Bexar County the smoke plume from this fire at Camp Bullis in northern San Antonio. Now, it is moving away from us. We're located on Fredericksburg Road and not too far from 410 and the I-10 intersection. But this smoke you can see off in the distance is moving away. But the bad news is the air continues to stay dry. I mean, if we have a south wind in place, that's good news. That's going to crank in more humidity over the next several hours. But the setup right now, I mean, it's so dry. The closest humidity right now is towards the coastal bend. I mean, near Port Lavaca, Matagorda Bay, San Antonio Bay, and near Port Aransas. But you can see how dry the air is, and that's why it's sparking off wildfire after wildfire. The first one, of course, is the one in Camp Bullis, but there's a second one just north of Rock Springs, and we talked about that earlier today. And we do want to mention southerly winds are going to still carry the smoke farther north into Johnson City. Just wanted to reiterate that, continuing with the red flag warning until 8 o'clock tonight for every county across San Antonio. Notice the winds, they're moving at about sustained 15, 20 to 25 miles an hour, which is why the Weather Service is concerned about this kind of setup, this kind of environment. It's going to create elevated fire weather conditions and concerns. And likely, yes, it expires at 8 p.m. tonight, but with wildfires spreading so quickly and rapidly, they'll likely reissue it for tomorrow. So what you're going to want to do is just avoid any outdoor burning. Help prevent wildfires. Do not do things like this. Throw lit cigarettes out the window. Do not park or drive over tall grass. Sometimes the friction of the cars and the heat can spark off wildfires like that. Leave campfires, don't leave them unattended because, I mean, obviously it's going to get cool tonight. It's the weekend, it's Saturday night, and if you're going out, if you're going to have a evening out with your friend and family, just do not leave those campfires unattended because it will stay breezy overnight, and do not drag tow chains on the ground. Again, that friction can cause a pretty bad setup. It's 84 right now, southeast winds at 17 miles an hour. The air's still fairly dry. Temperatures were a little warm this afternoon. We were in the 80s today, and winds again stay breezy overnight and stay breezy all day tomorrow. And areas to the south, maybe near Couture down I-35, we'll see occasional gusts near 20 to 30 miles an hour, but another breezy day is up ahead for your Sunday with high temperatures maxing out near 90 degrees. Yes, a beautiful day, but still a bad setup for fire weather concerns. Let's just talk about this real quickly. Fiesta Flambeau Parade for heading out this evening, middle 70s, very comfortable, clear and breezy. And let's just go back to the fire weather risk. I'm going to rewind this real quick and just go back to the satellite image, which was just incredible to see. I mean, it's insane that you can see this from miles up in space. And in one little spot in northern Bexar County, Camp Bullis, you can see that fire, just the smoke plume from the fire from earlier today. And here's some additional footage from earlier this afternoon from Chopper 5. And this is just some of the smoke that was picked up. And matter of fact, the top right side of your screen, you can see some of the fire just burning away. So again, the setup at the surface, very bad. I mean, all the brush is just so dry. The drought is worsening. We've talked about this over and over again. Extreme to exceptional drought in areas across San Antonio and across Bexar County. And of course, this is going to lower the air quality. But good news, a lot of this smoke is traveling farther north away from San Antonio because of southerly winds. But this, again, this is from Chopper 5 from earlier today. This is not a live feed. And let's see if I can just fast forward this feed and show you some of the additional fires around Camp Bullis from earlier today. Phil, any updates? Anything that you want to mention?
Nothing new, but just for those who might be joining us right now on Facebook, again, this fire at Camp Bullis started around 2:30. This video that we've been showing you is from earlier via Chopper 5, but we now know from the Texas A&M Forest Service that this fire is at 0% containment and about 1,500 acres burned. We had not seen any evacuation orders until now. The chief of the Bear Bulverde Volunteer Fire Department telling our Alyssa Diaz, who is on the ground, that evacuation orders will be ordered for the Oak Ridge George Oaks neighborhood. I'm trying to find where the George Oaks neighborhood is, and it looks like this is just north of where Camp Bullis, the property of Camp Bullis ends. Camp Bullis is a big area. That's 27,000 acres. It's crucial for the training of JBSA service members. They train there. We still don't know what started this fire. We're waiting to get more information from Joint Base San Antonio, but they are busy right now. Their fire departments, their firefighters are trying to tackle this fire, as well as the help of the Leon Springs Fire Department, and they've also requested help from the Chavano Park and Bulverde Fire Department, and of course we now know the Bear Bulverde Volunteer Fire Department is getting involved here, and evacuation orders will be ordered for the Oak Ridge in George Oaks neighborhood. But again, 0% containment as of right now, with about 1,500 acres burned. And Ryan, as you were saying, that the winds moving from south to north, and it looks like the George Oaks neighborhood is right there where Camp Bullis ends on the north side. Yeah,
and speaking of Camp Bullis and all of San Antonio, take a look at this graphic. We were mentioning the Texas A&M Forest Service. They reissue this forecast every day and every night for the day ahead, and this is for Sunday. So we've talked about fires being a threat every single day for the last several months because with no rainfall, nothing beneficial in the rain gauge, our fire threat will only continue and stay stagnant for this next several days, next several months, until we get some good, much-needed rain. So again, here's the fire danger forecast from the A&M Forest Service. They issue this every day, every night for tomorrow, with south winds not calming down much. They'll calm down a little bit in the overnight, but with them moving still up to about 20 to 30 miles an hour tomorrow afternoon, that's going to create high fire danger for San Antonio, and that includes Camp Bullis, Helotes, downtown San Antonio, Fair Oaks Ranch, Bernie, Kerrville. So again, please avoid any outdoor burning. For tomorrow, it'll be moderate out west and even a few extreme to very high pockets of fire danger tomorrow. And a big factor that contributes to this is this right here, the drought. I mean, look at this. South of Eagle Pass. Matter of fact, we get this updated every single Thursday, and this last Thursday showed a small jump in the exceptional drought. Now, notice where kind of northern San Antonio is, Bexar County. We're in that smidge of extreme drought, that little sector, that edge that's kind of creeping in from west to east. But what really picks out on this map is the exceptional drought. North of Laredo, south of Eagle Pass, Maverick County, Dimmitt County, portions of LaSalle County, all under exceptional drought. So if this is going to tell you anything, this is a perfect setup for any wildfires to spark off. So anytime the winds move up to 20 to 30 miles an hour, or even faster than that, that's going to create a huge setup for any fires like this from earlier today. So again, this is video from Chopper 5 from this afternoon, and this was picked out earlier from Camp Bullis, and you can see just embers traveling from spot to spot, fires burning, and the smoke that's continuing to lower the air quality. Let's see if we can zoom in on this other map real quick. And again, we can see some of the smoke from our Skycam.
Yeah, this is just to give you some perspective. This is from the Ken's 5 studio, and you can see the smoke off in the distance. It was a little more clear earlier, but you can see it's really become hazy now. But we are located in the medical center, so we're closer to I-10 410, and it gives you an idea. All of that toward the bottom there, that's all smoke. That's Camp Bullis way off into the distance. I don't know what that was.
I'm not too sure.
But anyway, you can see the smoke way off into the distance from the medical center. We've been getting calls about this from people all over the area. A lot of people in Stone Oak can see a lot of the smoke, and even one of our employees here was coming in from 1604 west of I-10 around Bandera, and he could see the smoke off in the distance. So a lot of people can see this smoke coming from this Camp Bullis fire that the Texas A&M Forest Service is now saying is about 1,500 acres that have burned, 0% containment. And I just want to reiterate once again that the chief of the Bear Bulverde Volunteer Fire Department says evacuation orders will be ordered for the Oak Ridge and George Oaks neighborhoods. That's the neighborhoods north of Camp Bullis, where the Camp Bullis property ends.
And just here's another look at satellite. So sometimes, when we could see this during the day with visible satellite, we can get an idea if the fire is expanding, if it's improving, if it's worsening, or if it's consolidating. But you can see, just continuing to burn since about 2:30 this afternoon, and that smoke plume really didn't die off much. So the brush is fueling it, the winds are fueling it, and the dry air is continuing to just set up a really bad scene for the areas near and around Camp Bullis. So we talked about this earlier. If you're just tuning in, we have a south wind at the surface. Why that's important? Well, that's going to be very important in dictating where the smoke goes from here on out. So as it burns at Camp Bullis, southerly winds are going to transport all the smoke away from San Antonio. And if you're watching from Bernie, from Bandera, from Fredericksburg, or from Kerrville, it's going to be heading away from you. So that's good news. But if you're watching from Johnson City or areas north of San Antonio, the southerly winds are going to carry it towards that area for tonight. So if you're watching from downtown SA, if you're going to the Flambeau Parade tonight, this is not going to impact you. That's the good news, but if we don't get this fire contained, if fire crews continue to struggle overnight, it could certainly become a problem.
Ryan, what are you thinking as far as wind conditions go for the remainder of the night?
Yeah, so good question. So forecast models right now have been suggesting winds dying down a little overnight. So that'll help us contain the fire threat for the next several hours. But with heating of the day tomorrow and a good onshore flow from the Gulf of Mexico, that'll continue the fire threats for tomorrow. So it's not going to go away. Yes, it'll be less in the overnight, but it will increase by tomorrow afternoon. So you can see again, here's a video from earlier today from Chopper 5. But the Weather Service continues with the red flag warning until 8 o'clock tonight for San Antonio. So after that, that doesn't discount the threat. Please avoid any outdoor burning, because with winds still a little breezy right now, 15-20 miles an hour, we're going to continue to see elevated fire weather conditions. Strong winds, lack of humidity, very dry air, and even warm air in the overnight. 60s and 70s may contribute to extreme to elevated fire weather behavior. Sparks and embers will fly from spot to spot and create very rapidly growing fires. So just to reiterate, help prevent wildfires. Do not throw cigarettes out the window. Do not park or drive over tall grass. Do not leave campfires unattended. It's going to get a little cool tonight, and so we've mentioned this before. It's the weekend, and of course, you and your family, your friends are going to get together and maybe start a fire. But please, if you absolutely have to, don't leave it unattended and put it out, because anything that spreads in the overnight will spread quick. It'll go rapidly, and embers will jump from spot to spot. And with this kind of brush at the surface, the dry vegetation, the drought, it is just a tinderbox waiting to happen, and it will spark off fires just like that. So again, please do not do any of these things. Do not drag tow chains on the ground or park or drive over tall grass, because the friction of that and the heat of the engine and the cars itself, that can create some big problems out there. So here's the current look outside our Skycam and outside our studios. 84 feels like 81 because the air is so dry. The dew point's at 38. So we have barely any humidity out there, which is one huge factor that's fueling the wildfires out there. And again, we have just a satellite feed from our geostationary satellite from earlier this afternoon of the Camp Bullis fire. I mean, if you're watching from Timberwood Park, you could probably see it from that area. Near Blanco Road, matter of fact, and west of 281 and east of I-10. But again, here's just some additional video. If you missed it from earlier today, all the smoke plume itself, the fire spreading, the embers jumping from spot to spot. Northern Bexar County, northern San Antonio, it was a huge problem this afternoon over at Camp Bullis, Phil.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people have been calling in, wondering what's going on. If you're just joining us, just to give you a brief update, this fire started around 2:30 on Camp Bullis. Joint Base San Antonio has all their fire departments there now, as well as they are getting help from Leon Springs Fire Department, and they've requested help from other area fire departments, including Chavano Park, Bulverde, the Bear Bulverde Fire Department. We do know from the Texas A&M Forest Service that there is zero containment at this point. So this fire is just getting started. 1,500 acres have burned. We do know evacuation orders will be given for the Oak Ridge and George Oaks neighborhoods. Those are the neighborhoods north of Camp Bullis, where the Camp Bullis property ends. A lot of people saying that they heard a loud explosion or boom sound coming from the area before all the smoke started. That's not unusual to hear those types of noises from Camp Bullis. We just can't confirm, what started this fire. We're still waiting to hear from Joint Base San Antonio as to what happened. Did something go wrong with a training exercise, whatnot? But we just can't speculate at this point. But again, some of you have been commenting here on Facebook saying you've heard a sound, or an explosion, some sort of noise. So not unusual for Camp Bullis, but again, we just don't know what started this fire that so far is at 0% containment.
Wow.
And 1,500 acres burned so far. The video that you're looking at is from Chopper 5 from earlier today. So it's not a live look, but knowing that there's been 0% containment, you can only imagine it doesn't look much different, if not worse, than it does from this video from Chopper 5 from earlier today. Again, 1,500 acres burned so far. That's the estimate from the Texas A&M Forest Service with 0% containment. And there are a number of different fire crews from not only Joint Base San Antonio on scene, but other fire departments in the area, including Leon Springs, Bulverde, Chavano Park. That's quite the effort to tackle this fire right now.
Yeah, and we're continuing to monitor this very closely. You can see on the screen at your bottom, like right below us, is the current dew point temperatures, and this is what's creating just a terrible environment for any wildfires that are sparked off during the day. So notice the air is just so dry. All those tan and beige colors you're seeing is indicative of just desert-like dry air. Is there some humidity out there? Yeah, but not much. You can see Beeville and towards the coastal bend and near Port Lavaca and near Copano Bay. I mean, that's just some humidity starting to work in from a south and southeast wind. So yes, southerly winds will help us in the next several hours and even through tomorrow. But our skies stay clear, our air stays very dry, and most importantly, the drought, continues to be a huge problem. So here's another satellite image of the Camp Bullis fire. From what we saw today, it was starting to burn around 2:30 this afternoon. Matter of fact, if you just look very closely at the feed, it was at about 4 o'clock is when this loop started, but it started around 2:30, and you can see that smoke plume just really defined in the lower to middle levels of the atmosphere. As that hot air rises, it's just very buoyant, and it just rises into the upper levels of the atmosphere. And that wasn't the only one. There was another one near Rock Springs as you can see, just a huge and terrible setup for any fires to be sparked off during the afternoon. So here's one forecast model, and you can see kind of where it thinks the fire and the smoke is going to kind of move towards. So with those wind particles at the surface, you can see kind of those winds moving in from the south. Those are sustained winds at 10, 15 miles an hour. As long as we maintain a southerly wind at that speed, it's going to continue to carry the smoke away from Bulverde. But if you're watching from Bulverde, if you're watching from Bernie, you can likely see that smoke in your western or eastern sky, depending on where you're looking from. So from Bulverde, the western sky, and if you're watching from Bernie, in your eastern sky. And if you're seeing smoke, it is not heading in your direction. Those south winds are going to carry the smoke closer to Johnson City and away from downtown San Antonio. So if you have any plans tonight, will the air quality be down a little bit? Yeah, most likely. If any areas are going to see lowered air quality and smoke buildup, it's going to be in northern San Antonio. But one thing that's going to work out in our favor, yes, that wind direction, but also the wind speed, which means the air is not stagnant and it's not building up in one spot and spreading out laterally across the area. It's moving towards the north. But again, if you're watching from Johnson City, that is where the smoke is heading directly towards at this hour. Red flag warning in effect until 8 o'clock tonight. Again, this is from the Weather Service. Every county in the pink shade with a wind up to 20 and 30 miles an hour this afternoon and this evening. Calming down overnight, but going to continue to get gusty by tomorrow, and likely another red flag warning will be issued for tomorrow. But this one is in effect until 8. Wildfires will spread rapidly. The one that's at Camp Bullis and around northern San Antonio right now is 0% contained. We mentioned that earlier. Strong winds, lack of moisture in the air, and all this will contribute to elevated fire weather behavior. So again, do not throw cigarettes out the window, do not park or drive over tall grass, and do not leave campfires unattended. Because with this kind of drought in place, I mean, just worsening rainfall conditions, it's not good for South Texas for anyone to do any outdoor burning. Matter of fact, you can see with Chopper 5, with all that smoke just being produced from these wildfires, an ongoing threat. And again, this is 0% contained. Well, Phil, I mean, you know, we've been on for about 30 to 35 minutes. We can get off soon, but if anyone has any questions, let us know. We'll be on for the next several minutes, giving you guys any updates on the ongoing fire threat at Camp Bullis in northern Bexar County. But yeah, if you have any other questions, let us know. Phil, do you have anything to wrap things up with?
No, just to recap, the Texas A&M Forest Service saying that there's been about 1,500 acres burned so far, and they are at 0% containment. They have a number of different fire departments out there, all from all of the JBSA locations, as well as other fire departments that have pitched in to help here from the area, including Chavano Park, Bulverde, Bear Bulverde Volunteer Fire Department. And we do know now that evacuation orders have been given for the Oak Ridge, George Oaks neighborhoods. That's north of Camp Bullis, where the property pretty much ends and where you start to see some homes just north of Camp Bullis, which would make sense, Ryan, because you're saying that this is going, the winds are going from south to north. So it makes sense that Blanco Road, those homes appear to be safe, thankfully. But obviously, if there's homes north of Joint Base San Antonio, Camp Bullis, that's a problem for them. And they're probably getting a lot of that smoke as we speak. Again, 1,500 acres burned so far. That's the estimate from the Texas A&M Forest Service, with about 0% containment. It's a large area overall. Camp Bullis is about 27,000 acres, a crucial training site for service members from Joint Base San Antonio. This started around 2:30, and here we are. What time is it now? I've counted 7:17. So we're going on more than 4 hours now, almost 5 hours since this started. And as you mentioned, unfortunately, as far as rain chances go, it's not looking good. And just another reminder of how desperate we are for rain.
I mean, this is just a perfect example. I mean, we've seen fires, sparked off almost every other day. I mean, I can remember, last several weekends there has been ongoing threats and wildfires have been sparked off. But yes, I mean, this environment, this setup, the atmosphere is just perfect for wildfires, which is not good news for us because we haven't seen good rainfall since February 3rd. On that day, about 55 days ago, added it up, we saw about an inch of rainfall, inch and a half in San Antonio at the airport. But ever since then, almost 2 months ago, we haven't seen measurable, good, beneficial rain, and this is the result. Fires are going to continue like this if we don't get rain. A chance at rain Monday night and Tuesday night. We'll show you the 7-day forecast in just a little bit, but here's just continued footage from earlier this afternoon from Chopper 5 over at Camp Bullis in northern San Antonio. Phil, we'll have updates tonight at 10, correct?
Yeah, we'll have updates tonight at 10. Unfortunately, we did not get to bring any of this to you during our regularly scheduled 6 o'clock news because of the Masters. We have the Spurs game going on tonight, but should anything major happen, we'll jump back on here on Facebook and update you. Ryan and I will not go anywhere. We've got our staff, we've got a crew there at the scene, so if there's any major update, we will certainly jump onto Facebook and give you an update as needed. So so stay with us, via Twitter, kens5.com, our app, Facebook. We're going to be here. We're going to bring you more information as it becomes available. But just to sign off here, Texas A&M Forest Service says about 1,500 acres have burned so far, 0% containment. So let's just hope for the best.
Mm-hmm.
We know this is a tough job that all of those firefighters have to do. Conditions are not good, as Ryan has mentioned. So let's hope for the best, and we'll bring you more information as it becomes available.